everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm glad you're here. Today I'm going to show you how to make 2 quick Father's Day cards, okay? The first card I'm going to use the block alphabet thin cut set, but really just go into your stash and pick whatever kinds of alphabet thin cuts or dies that you have on hand. And then I'm also going to use brush strokes and fresh paint scrapbooking and some of the papers from the textures collection. Okay, so I'm going to start out by cutting this piece of pattern paper. It looks like paint with brush strokes on a wall, and then the other looks like brick, and I'm going to keep that zip strip. So I'm cutting it at 4 1/4, and the paint one is about 4 inches, and then I'm going to cut about 3 inches, and then I'll alter it as I put my card together. So I'm kind of laying out the general design, and then I'm going to figure out where I want to place things. Okay, so I've cut the word dad out of these block alphabets in gold foil, and then 2 more layers of white, and I've stacked them and glued them together. And I'm going to use this stamp that looks like dripping paint, and I'm going to heat emboss with it. So I'm going to stamp it in Versamark ink, and then my letters DAD are going to kind of sit on top of that. So I'm stamping that out in Versamark, and then I'm going to use some of this Nuvo black glitter embossing powder, but you can go in your stash and pick whatever color you want, whatever you have on hand. This is a cool black with lots of bits of glitter in it, so it sparkles and shines. And then I'm going to hit it with my heat tool and melt that embossing powder. Okay, now I have this stamp that's from brush strokes, and it looks like paint splatters. So I'm going to lay everything out, and then I'm going to heat emboss with that as well. And I'm just stamping several of these around. They'll be underneath my letters. And then I'm going to sprinkle some of this Nuvo Gold Enchantment embossing powder on it. And then we'll heat that up and melt it. So it'll look like there's paint splatters behind my letters. And to add even more, I've got a black shimmer brush, and I'm just going to tap this brush and splatter some of this black shimmer all around. Okay. Now we can start building the card. So I'm going to lay that embossed piece down first. And I'm just going to lay it down with Tombow tape runner. And then I'll place that brick piece down below. And I just eyeballed the dimensions, so it does hang off the bottom, and I'll just trim off the excess after I get this down. Place this on my card front, and then just trim off that extra. And then I'll place my letters on top of that dripping paint, and I'll glue those down with wet glue. And then I decided that I needed a Happy Father's Day. So I pulled that from For All Occasions, and I stamped them on this piece of cardstock that looks like cement. And then I trimmed around it and cut a dovetail on one side. So I have my sentiment. And then to finish it off, I'm going to scatter some of these black acrylic dots around. Pretty easy. And here's some close-up shots. I like the way this one turned out. Very masculine. Bricks and concrete and paint. Okay, next card I'm going to use the slim alphabet thin cut along with this wood grain embossing folder, and then I've pulled 3 layers of black ore with the slim alphabets that spell dad, and I've pulled some papers from the woodgrain collection. Okay, so I'm going to trim off this zip strip. I'm going to cut that at 3.5 inches. And then I'm just pulling scraps and bits of the woodgrain papers, and I'm just going to cut them at a variety of sizes, under 2 inches. So that one's 2 by 1.5. That one's 3/4. I'm looking at the interesting parts of the image there and then trimming it down. And then eventually I'm going to dovetail all of these pieces. So I'm just pulling a variety of lights and darks and then trimming them all down. Some are at 1 by 2, some are at 3/4. This one is 3/4 by 1.5, and we'll get this gray piece in. So just go through your stash and your scraps and see what kinds of interesting pieces you have on hand. It doesn't take a lot for this design. And I think I want to use this one, so I'll trim that down. I like both sides, so I'll trim that, and I'm not going to use everything, but I like to have a variety to choose from. Okay. Then I'm going to trim down. I have a piece of toffee cardstock, and I thought I was going to use this, so I'm trimming that down for my card base size, and then I'm using the light side and trimming that to 4 by 5.25. So I'm going to emboss this in the woodgrain embossing folder. So I'll bring in my Big Shot, and before I run it through, I want to mist it with, you could just use water. I have this product that's called Embossing Wonder. It's a long retired product from a closed local store, but you could just use water. So I've spritzed it a little bit to keep the paper from cracking when you run it through. Okay, and then I realized I ran it through on the dark side of toffee, but I'll change my mind again in a second. I like the debossed side. So I'm going to use the light side of toffee. This is a happy accident. And it's the debossed side of it. And then I decided that I wanted a darker border, so I'm bringing in some mocha. And I'm going to cut that at 4.25 by 5.5. Okay, now we can start building our card. Get that cleaned up a bit. So I'm going to lay everything out. So I've got my black letters and then the zip strip. And then I'm going to pull some of these little bits of wood grain papers that I cut. I'm going to dovetail the ends of all of them. So just snip in the center vertically and then take each corner to meet that snip. So snip in the center, right corner, left corner. And then you have your little triangle taken out of the base. And now you have a little banner. So I'm going to lay these out and kind of layer them on top of each other and just see which colors I like the best and how well they layer together. Kind of picking and choosing and laying things out, moving things around until I like what I see. Almost there. Trim that down a little bit shorter. They're all different lengths. There's a little variety involved there. Okay. I think that's it. Okay, Now we can start assembling the card. I'm going to keep this one clean and simple. We have enough interest with all the different varieties of wood grains and then the embossed background. So we'll just put everything down with Tombow. Layer in the mocha, layer in the embossed toffee, lay down all our banners. So with this design, I like to put the banners down first and then lay the zip strip on top. And then I'll put the letters that spell Dad down with wet glue. Clean and simple. Some close-up shots in a second. So all these supplies are currently available in my online store, and I'll make a list with links in the description below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it, and then you'll be able to find all of my videos. And thanks for watching.